welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to talk about the logic behind targeted marketing. Exactly how does it work? How do they figure out if they want to sell to you or not? Luca?
Well, it has been the at the core of Google business model since the beginning of the century. Typically, what we do with Google is everything,
Mm.
and we leave traces behind us. And Google collects those traces, collects our clicks, collect the devices that we're using, and try to predict our intent. Then that intent is sold to people that essentially want to sell to us stuff and services.
Mhm.
This is my 2 cents, but I know that you're much more knowledgeable than Luca on this topic. So why don't you share your perspective?
Okay, so that's generally how it works, but apparently there has been this new idea of programmatic advertising. So they're
Hmm.
saying that it's going to be the future of targeted marketing for AI. So basically, what happens is that they buy the space automatically, right? I want you to imagine like all the different websites, right? And there's always place for advertising there, right? So they sell the space. So what they do is that they look at the profile of a certain individual or of a certain market that they want to target, and then they try to trace what websites would they go to, even if you haven't
Hmm.
been to that website. So what happens is when you eventually land on that website, they've already bought that space and everything is automatic, right? So there's nobody that's actually looking through it. They just base it off what Google is collecting from all of you being online all the time. And it's just really fast and it's really specific. And the result is that it's super incredible, like targeted marketing, which is kind of scary. But yeah, that's what
And
it is.
this is just one question about this. Is this the future? I mean, programmatic advertising is already there and churning, spitting leads. Is it something that Google? I mean, I imagine that Google has already done this, right?
Yes, Google has already done it. And I think the reason that they want to say that it's going to be the future is because, like, it's not just Google, right? Consider that because of like the awareness of privacy and all of this, like in the last like couple of years, there have been like a lot of new internet browsers that have been popping up, right? That are trying to mimic Google, but are trying to be a little bit more privacy friendly. But the reality is that we don't really know, like, is DuckDuckGo not doing something like this? Like, what is, do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
when they say that it's going to be like the future of targeted marketing, they're saying that, okay, Google is doing it now. But what happens if all of the other like web browsers that we're using concurrent to Google start doing it as well? Then you're going to
Okay.
have like, do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
there's that room.
if I understood correctly, I mean the classic targeted marketing paradigm that involves collecting the information from consumers and then using that information to try to predict intent or trying to
Mhm.
buy advertising space that fulfills a specific need or intent is reverse. So in programmatic advertising, what you do is in advance you classifying the space. I mean, the internet
Mhm.
domains or the websites based on what you think is going to be the intent of people. And in doing so, you don't need personal information, right? You
Yes.
already have the knowledge. You have a predictive knowledge um, yeah, what audience would be interested in.
Yes, exactly. Hmm. Yeah.
That's interesting. So it's interesting because it sounds like a privacy-friendly approach that it's badly needed, by the way, right?
Yeah, it's definitely much better. So it is, I guess, in that point of view, it's going forward, it is better that if all of the companies are doing this instead of what has been like the traditional norm.
And do you have any insights or understanding of what was the impact of the Apple move on Facebook, for instance? I think in December or November in 2021, they on iOS devices. I don't know about Android, but essentially Apple prevented Google and other apps, Facebook and other apps to collect and track users across multiple apps and multiple websites. And this was advertised as a move to protect consumer privacy that would have had an impact on Facebook revenue. To my knowledge, it didn't really. I mean, I don't think that there was a big decline. Probably there was some decline, but the killer move here was really to protect consumers and give a very specific message to big tech giants that have um, this business model fueled or centered on consumer data. We're not going to allow you to do this anymore. So I imagine that this programmatic advertising goes into the direction, right?
Yes, exactly. And it is the reason that that was really significant is because Apple is such a big company. And if they start moving in this direction, all of the other companies will eventually have to follow because of the user base that Apple has. So it is nice to see like some of the big tech companies actually making a stand when regards to privacy. Because like users by themselves, particularly if you're not really like educated on how to actually protect yourself online, you won't, right? If you
Yeah.
don't even have that awareness, then it's kind of a moot point. So it's nice to see that Apple and like all these other tech companies are trying to make it so that they can actually serve the customers privacy wise as well.
Okay. Well, Michelle, thanks a lot. You did all the work this episode for me. So, guys, if you like this episode, as usual, click the like button. Otherwise, read the description below to find interesting resources related to this episode.